Hello, TCI family and Jonathan's Refuge, coming to you live from outdoors beneath a beautiful canopy on a gorgeous table out at our headquarters. You know, TCI is the Church of Inclusion, and it's headquartered here up in Marysville, Washington. I am so grateful to be the Archbishop of an organization that makes real impact in the world. A lot of people talk about how they make an impact, and they open up a food bank and they give a bunch of people food, and they open a clothing bank and they give more people clothes. But you'll see the same person coming back year after year to the food bank and the clothing bank. And what I discovered as a young child when I saw that at my father's church, I'm a fourth generational preacher. So I come from four generations of preachers. And these pastors, it's the same story every time. It's the same poor people that never change. And I thought as a little child, well, why don't we stop just giving them freebies? Instead, I mean, let's give them some stuff too, give them freebies. But let's take and say, to get the freebies, you got to learn how to become more wise with money. I was a little child and I knew and understood what it meant to take money and put it in the savings account. I understood what it meant when they said they pay you like 0.1 or point half of 1%. And I understood that if I put it in Wall Street, there's a risk, but you put it on like the S&P 500, it's made 10% every year from the beginning of the inception. Okay. But doesn't everyone know that? No, they don't. And so what we're doing is we're helping change people's lives in a micro basis so that on a massive scale, big change can happen. And it's exciting. And I'm so grateful to be part of it up at this gorgeous facility that is headquarters and on this beautiful hill, 1,000 feet above sea level here, looking down onto the beautiful valley here in Marysville and looking off into the sound, seeing the marina where our boat is, where the men and the people in our organization go and stay and enjoy nights on the boat, stuff of that nature. And so I just finished our annual retreat for our biannual retreat, I should say. Or, yeah, it's biannual, semi-annual. I'm not every 6 months we do our board meeting, and the board meeting oversees a couple of the nonprofits, and TCI is one of them. So it's a journey that's been amazing. And as I sit here at the helm of the ship, if you will, I chuckle from being like a little boy inside because I don't even get paid to do any of this. I know people like, yeah, but you're rich yourself. I make $1,800 a month. That's what I make. And I would pay $1,800 a month to work here because that's what I love. I love doing this. I love seeing a young man change his life. I love seeing a knucklehead become successful. I love seeing that underdog prove to society that they can do it. I love seeing that thug, that gangster, that knucklehead that's not just a knucklehead, but a knucklehead plus an idiot all mixed in one. I love seeing them succeed. I love helping them become successful. People ask, how do you guys do it? It's real simple. Massive change. And that's the message. So let's get into massive change. How do you get massive change? First off, I want to give you some credits to the article. It came from a guy named James Kerr. For those that want to study James and his philosophies, a psychologist. One of the key points is people have the capacity to change. However, they must choose to do the work needed to make the change happen. Everybody wants you to be rich, or everybody wants to find love. Everybody wants a perfect marriage. Everyone wants perfect children, or whatever you want to call it, a good children, good marriage. Not what riches, but just a nice life. That's all great. But wishing and positive thinking doesn't get you there. Now, positive thinking is the beginning, but you got to take action. It talks about exposing to new ideas. So you need exposure to new ideas, experiences, information also inspires change. I was at Disneyland. I got my Disneyland shirt. If I can figure out where it's at, there it is. I got my Disneyland shirt on. I was in Disney. I took some family to Disney. And as I went through the park, I found inspiration for the headquarters. Over here in this one section, we have a Great dining hall being put in that's going to house and sit 90 people, 88 in round tables, but 90 people. You can fit, I think it's 120 in classroom style. It's a huge dining hall. So it's going to be a beautiful dining hall for all the events that we house. Disney maximized his space. If you go to Disneyland and you're on the Pirates of the Caribbean and you go on the ride is actually under the parking lot outside, under the train tracks. So if you know the Disney area, the train track in New Orleans Square, when you're going over that, that's part of the ride, under that part of it. And then it goes down the drop, and now you're in the parking lot out there. So over now, it's where the tram picks you up now. It used to just be the parking lot when everyone parked there. But then they put the tram in, right? And so Disney was a genius in maximizing his space. We're now going to be, my builder doesn't even know this. So if he watches this before I talk to him, Brian, I'm sorry. And our architect, Nina. But they're going to be to build a lever and a button. So when I walk in the Great Hall, I can hit a button and the floor will retract and it'll be a staircase exposed and you walk down. And I want to have a movie theater that'll house at least 20 to 40 guys. I'm trying for 40, but I know I can get 20. So you know me, I go big. So I want a movie theater in there and we'll have like 24 of the big, huge, like massaging chairs while you watch the movie. And then we'll have like 3 rows where there's like 30 seats, theater style seats, the nice ones, but theater styles all the way across. So I can get all the guys from the refuge, get all my knuckleheads, get all my knuckleheads at my company and put them all together. I'm knucklehead number 1 for those that don't know, and go watch a beautiful movie. So how did I come up with that idea? I was inspired by going places. If you want to get inspired, go places, see things, find out how other people did it. Now, coaching can help change by providing education, a safe place to practice and fail. But mostly I would say it's the accountability factor. So those are some of the psychological tips, right? And if you look up like, Law 101 of psychology, and I'm sitting here, the owner and founder of one of the largest private mental health practice in my county, and the third largest in the state of Washington. So I might know a thing or two, I hope, or else we're in trouble. No, I might know a thing or two, maybe. We'll see. To make massive change in one's life, it is important to have inspiration. That's the power of positive thinking. And then the effort is you. You got to take the step. Today, I took a big health step in the right direction and got back on my walks. And it was a very, very tough decision to make because of how much pain I'm in. But I said, hell no, I've had enough. So I'm going to make massive change. So I got inspired. And then I had to take and put the effort out today. And I did it. Now, the next is the commitment. And I made that commitment. I'm in. And tomorrow I've already got it arranged. I've already got my accountability partner, my vice chairman, and my freaking, best bud. He's up here day in and day out working on our property. He's he's the vice chairman of our nonprofit. And I make that commitment. So I have that accountability partner to help. And then self-awareness. I need to be aware of myself. What am I doing right now? Where am I at? Am I helping to accomplish my goals? Now, I like watching stuff at the end of the night to just get my mind off of things. And a Simpsons show, 30 minutes, right? I love laughing and I'd crack up at the Simpsons. So I enjoy it. If I find myself entrenched into like a movie marathon or something, a lot of times I'll find myself saying, this isn't helping. Now, if I want to cut loose, sometimes TV can do that. There's inspiration there. But most of the time I don't, unless it's like documentary, which is what I love to watch. I like to study people's lives and see how they overcame situations. So I too can overcome situations. And so I find inspiration in that. And so inspiration without effort, well, that don't mean anything, right? And so how do you do that? You got to have that self-awareness. And then you got to have goal setting skills. You need to set goals. What is your goals? All the men at my refuge have to have a 1, a 3, and a 5-year plan. Why is that? Because if you don't have a 1, 3, and 5, you don't succeed. I've only met a few people in my life that succeeded and did not have a 1, 3, and 5. And of those that I met that succeeded, they all shortly thereafter failed and never saw them again. So they're called one-hit wonders. They had a great idea, they had a great concept, they had a great business, but they had no 1, 3, and 5. without having a goal and a structure to aim towards, you don't know where you're going to, how are you doing? Are you succeeding? So each year I've nailed my company with a 100% growth factor. I tell them we're going to double the company. And every year I've not only doubled it, we've beyond doubled it, almost tripled it this year. I said, we'll double it. Then when we doubled it, I was like, don't tell the board we doubled. Be quiet. Shh. And they're like, how are we doing? Yeah, we're gonna get there. I like to hold that info back. And then we hit it. Bam. And we nailed it. We almost tripled it. How? How do we know? Because we had goals and we watched our numbers. If you can measure it, you can manage it. If you can't measure it, then you can't manage it. And if you can't measure it and you can't manage it, you are bound to fail. Even if it's a brilliant idea, doesn't matter. You will fail because you can't repeat it because you don't have any tools for success because you again had a great one-hit wonder idea. So then what happens is you got to have that ability to overcome every obstacle because they're going to come at you left and right. That's what I do every day. It's like playing baseball, except a little different. I got a bat, and wherever I walk, you got to listen because there's a ball coming somewhere at 80, 90 miles an hour, and you got to turn to hit it before it hits you. That's business. That's what business is. Nonprofit business, church business, doesn't matter. That's business 101. So you're on guard and you're swinging the bat at all times, and some to the south, you're batting to the west, you're batting to the north. You're like, whoa. Next thing you know, you're putting in a road, and then part of the road's sliding down, and you find yourself, you're all of a sudden a road expert and a construction expert. And you're like, no, you're just trying to salvage this crisis. You're trying to overcome this obstacle. That's what's going to happen in life. Your marriage is going to hit obstacles. Your weight loss is going to hit obstacles. When I was 450 pounds, I dropped 75 of it like that. Got down to 375. Everyone's like, wow, great job. I thought so too. So I settled and I was like, yeah, we're good. And then I was a big guy at 375 for like, I don't know, 7 years. And then I had to get serious and drop 280 pounds. And I'm still getting serious because I haven't quit yet. I got another 80 pounds to drop. I'm going to get healthy. Why? I like being the big guy. I like being, I'm a fighter, folks. An old boxer, 3 different black belts. I'll be honest with you. I got into a little tuffle a while back and last year, and someone assaulted me, and I proceeded to defend myself, but pretty well. And then when they got him to the hospital, and he was okay. They're like, "Well, what were you thinking? Did he really warn you that he was a pro fighter?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." And you still proceeded to try to want to smash this guy's face. Did I like it? Of course I did. So I like being that big guy. So losing weight for me, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm happy where I'm at. But I have to make massive change if I'm going to give this art of mine a couple more years. So we're going to do it. So this is what massive change is what it's about. See, 2026 in our church, TCI, and our organization at GCS, and all of our subsidiaries and everything out there, from our mental health firms to our investment firms, to all the different companies that we work with, to the construction firms, all of that, the electrical firms, everything we're in our fingers and hands are in doing, trying to change lives. This year, it's all about massive change. We're not just going to double the company this year. We're going to take it into the stratosphere. They're taking one of the nonprofits from like 2.7 million to over 5.4 million. They're going to have no problem doing that. And then now it starts to do this massive, because I've got it set up so they can double this thing every year. And so here's the cool thing. That means next year, not they get done at 5.4. Now they double again. Now they're at 10.8. Now they double again, 10.8. Now they're at, 20.2, right? Keep going, 20, 10 more, one more year, 20 goes to 40. And people say you can't keep doubling forever. You don't know Jonathan Brown that. You can double every year. You can get solid investments, especially on the beginning of these things. And when you're building things, you can go, and then you get up to 100 mil and you go, yeah, that's solid now. And I've done that a few times with my companies. And you're like, oh, this is great. Now that's where I had to change my mindset, because I'm good to get up to 100 mil, but I don't know how to get from that 100 mil to the $1 billion bracket. And my board, one of my board members, her son, she's one of my best friends, and he's one of my best friends. And this little guy, he's 12, and I said on a meeting, he overheard me say, I want to be the first $1 billion mental health firm to change the world and the entire prison system because I have the solution. And when we were done, he looked at me and he goes, "Can I ask you a question? Isn't $1 trillion more than a billion?" And I said, "It is." And he goes, "How many trillionaires are out there?" And I said, "None, not now." And he goes, "How many companies are $1 trillion companies?" And I said, "There are a couple $1 trillion companies. There are a few, not a ton, but there's a few. They're out there. Companies like Apple's a $1 trillion company. One of my favorite that I invest into, Berkshire Hathaway, they're a $1 trillion company." And so I explained that to him, and he looks at me without any hesitation in his eyes, and he goes, "So why don't you then want to be the first $1 trillion mental health firm that changes the prison system worldwide instead of just being the $1 billion mental health system that changes the prison system here in the US?" And a little kid at 12 challenged my mindset and said, "Why can't you be bigger? Why can't we be better? Why can't we get a larger scope? Why are we just focused on the US? Why don't we focus on the entire global prison system? And why not? $1 trillion? What's the problem with having $1 trillion mental health firm to have the money and resources to literally do what we're talking about doing? We could cut all of our prison systems in every state in the US by half in 1 year. And not just by releasing people, by putting them back into a prison, which is a different prison system. And yes, privatized, absolutely, but overseen by the state for a non-profit, not a profit corporation. When you put profits involved, that's where the prison system got screwed up. Take profits out of it, and you will eliminate the problems that they have with DOC as they stand, and then you would literally cut your system in half. The fees would be cut in half, and you men would come out with a recidivism rate like none other. We have a 0% recidivism rate. So this 12-year-old gave me an inspiration. So I was inspired and yet challenged all at the same time. He said, "I don't get it." And my thinking wasn't big enough. There was a minister at Oral Roberts University. He was the founder, Oral Roberts. And he had this plaque that said, I'm not going to quote it right. I know one of you that know Oral are going to say this. He was a friend of my family. So I feel bad, but it's like, "Don't dream small dreams here." Something like that. We only dream big dreams. And I was that kid my whole life. Big dreams, big dreams. Well, then the world actually grew up around me, and I was still with the size of dreams. And a 12-year-old said, "Hey, yo, buddy, raise your lid." And he lifted my leadership lid. He lifted it up and said, "You can be bigger. You can do more." Whoa. Okay. So massive change. How are we going to do massive change? How am I going to accomplish this 80 pounds that I need to drop with my weight? I built a plan. I put together the plan so that we can measure it daily and weekly and manage it. Got it. Got the accountability partners, got the workout routine, got the workout partners, got the accountability. We started it today. All right. Things are moving in the right direction. For those that know, I'm very sick, very ill, and I don't talk about it much. So I puke a lot. And the medication they have me on is causing a lot of bad side effects. So here I am. I'm at a board meeting retreat, and I got a bucket between my legs, and I'm even and puking in between having meetings and trying to change the world and planning and investing all of our time and effort to do so. Why? Because I want massive change. I need massive change. And that's what's needed. How do you get that? That's the question. How do you get that? And in 2 minutes, I'm going to tell you it's the hardest thing and the easiest thing to do. Massive change will occur when you take massive action. End of story. Nothing else matters. The famed Jerry Lucas, NBA Hall of Famer, 2 times in the NBA Hall of Fame, top 50 of best. And then there's another one. This guy is like epic. I grew up, him and his son, me were best friends. I dated his daughter for a small stint. I don't even know if you'd call it dating because we were, what were we, sixth graders or seventh graders, I think. We were in love, and you'd get a kiss every great once in a while at school on the cheek of the lips, and you thought you were, amazing. And but they were good friends of ours and our family. And Jerry, one day when he heard I wanted to be an NBA player, he kind of chuckled and had to give me a reality check. He's like, "Could you do it with your height?" He's like, "Yeah, you could do it. There's guys that are short that are in the league." You know, you're 5'10". You could do it. You could be one of those point guards. But you're gonna have to be the best free throw thrower in the world because you're gonna get fouled all the time. You're gonna have to drive in and draw the foul, and you will draw it because you're a tiny guy. So you got to nail almost all your points from that free throw. So what I'm going to suggest you do is become the greatest free throw shooter and 3-point shooter. And you got to be better than 3 points. You got to back up like another, yard back because you're going to have to get up and over the tall guys. All right, I can do that. How many shots a day? He's like 1,000. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's a lot. He's like, yep. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. 1,000. I do 500 of the free throws in the morning. I do 500 of the 3-pointers in the afternoon. He goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. You got to do 1,000 of each. And I'm like, wait, what? He goes, you got to do 1,000 free throws every single day. And then you got to get out on the 3-point line all around it and do 1,000 shots. And I'm sitting there going, I don't even know if I have enough time for that. He says, you won't. You'll be able to only sleep, a few hours here and a few hours there. And I'm sitting there going, ah. And he just looks at me and he goes, see, if it's really what you wanted to do, you wouldn't have hesitated. You'd have jumped at it. And I realized I couldn't accomplish it because I didn't want to do it. So the first thing you got to do is find what you're passionate about. And if you're passionate about losing the weight, then you're going to have to do the easiest and hardest thing, which is watch what you eat and watch what you do on your exercise. It's real simple. Eat this much calories, burn this much calories, you will lose weight. It's that simple. There's nothing else to it. If you use drugs to do it with doctors, fine. If you use hard ass exercising to do it, fine. I don't care what you do, but it's this simple. I burn these many calories. I only eat these many calories. Boop, there's my fat loss for the day. It's that simple. Do it in over a long period of time, and you will lose weight and get healthier and in more shape and give your body a chance. Investing, same way. I just talked about how the company, one of them I've got, we're doubling it. And then in less than 5 years, we're going from just like, a couple $1,000,000 to literally $20 million. And then it jumps to $40 million in 1 year. Whoa. And 40 goes to 80 in one more year. And you say, it's not possible. I've done it. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. I know how to do this. It's easy. And we're doing it right now. But yet it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. So it's funny how it's an oxymoron. The easiest thing, watch what you eat. That's easy. Is it really? Because when no one's around, you go back to the habit. And there's your zinger, the habit. So as I close with what is your habit? What is your mindset? That will determine your future outcome of everything you do. And when you get angry and we revert back to trauma and you go to that fight, flight, or freeze, we revert back to our core habits. So we've got to change our eating habits if you want to lose weight, your exercise habits, and you've got to progress in a way. If it's finances, stop spending, do more investing, make rules, put parameters, but you got to believe it and do it consistently so many times over and over and over that it's secondary nature. I don't even blink nowadays. I live off of nothing. I don't care. Why? I did the Ferrari thing. I had all that fancy stuff. Give it all. It doesn't matter anymore. I want to change lives. I want a young man coming out of prison at 20 or at 62. I want to be able to show him there's a path. And I got a path for you, pal. It's going to be the hardest thing and yet the easiest thing you ever do. But I'm here with you and I will hold your hand and walk you through it if you will take the lead. We only help those that help themselves. And that is how massive change occurs, through that massive action. God bless. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Now I just got to figure out how to end the stream. There we go.